It's 10 o'clock. We were supposed to start at 10. This meeting was set up in January 2 months ago as a special meeting for people to bring their ideas on a comprehensive plan, the future of Dewatto. At the last week, one commissioner had did not want to be here, and then just last night at 6 o'clock I was notified that other commissioner was not going to be here. So with just one commissioner, it can't be a special meeting of any kind. I thank everybody for coming out, and it could still be a community forum where people can express their ideas. This is Diedrich Allen with Mason Web TV is putting this on chip, and it can be watched on Mason Web TV, and it'll be a record for the commissioners with the future developments. So anyway, my name's Dave Hogg. I'm a commissioner, and I guess if anybody doesn't want to just participate in a forum and was expecting a special meeting, I'm sorry. They could, leave. I wouldn't feel bad. Otherwise, we could stick around. And this is our port manager, Gina Crosby.
Hi.
And she'd like to say a few things.
So I made up a few packet forms here. One of them is your name and address and whatnot if you want to be contacted through the port for special meetings and everything. If you don't have Facebook or whatnot, I can send you snail mail. Also, there's a survey in there to take at the end for what you would like to have seen, what didn't get finished or anything like that, so we know what to do to make the port better. There's also a paper in there that has who your commissioners are. One of the attendees 2 years ago didn't know who the commissioners were, and so I went ahead and did your commissioners, and my volunteer, which is awesome. Chris Tompkins helps me every week to make sure that I know what needs to be done in the port, because I've never done county work before. And then it just tells a little bit about myself and Joe, our camp coordinator. So that's in there. There is an agenda. We're going to take a break probably about 10:45 or ish, and you guys can get some snacks anytime you want. The bathrooms are open. I have copies of the budget. If anybody didn't have one that was on the table at prior meetings, I have copies of that. And then we'll give like 2 or 3 minutes to each person and then come back to them. And also, one important thing was 2 years ago there was a paper on the wall that said parking lot. And everybody took little post-it notes and they stuck them up on that. And that was supposed to be what was followed up on. I don't know if anybody got a follow-up. However, I did print out all of those. So everything that was done at the 2017 meeting is in the packets over there. You can just go through it at your leisure. And if you need anything else during the meeting, just let me know. And I'm going to turn this over to our District 3 Commissioner, Dave Haugen.
Well, anybody who wants to speak should speak, and try to be brief and respectful and everything.
Make sure you identify yourself
and make sure you identify yourself
and stand up so that we can see who you are. Sorry, Dave.
Thanks, Commissioner Haugen and Manager Gina. Thank you so much. As we know, again, this is now a non-formal meeting, so all of us showing up here today will have no voice or concern or opinion moving forward to add our input to the comprehensive plan, unfortunately.
Wish we would have had another commissioner present, because a lot of people came from as far away as Renton, Seattle, Maple Valley to be here today. And to just waste our time is, in my feeling, a little unwarranted. kind of a little embarrassing for our port, but
I think so too. but-
I'd like to say thank you, Commissioner Haugen, for at least being here today to still push forward. And I think that we'll still get some good information out of our meeting. I don't think we should give up. I think we should keep moving forward with our true sentiment of Dewatto and our community here. So there's a lot of different variations in what people think, how to manage, or what they would like to see in your community, but I think we could still get these for the record. One of the things that I want to go backwards in time. 10 years ago, when this comprehensive plan was being revisited, there was no public input. It was done just by the commissioners. I believe 10 years prior to that, it was even designed and created, again, without any public input. So never having a public hearing, having any input at all, they just adopted a plan. I think we need to talk about that plan because it really does need some changing. It's pretty aggressive in the development that is being presented for the port here in the Port of Dewatto. So, Mr. Haugen, if you want to go forward, or Gina, and talk about, there was just more than one. Here's the other thing that's kind of upsetting is that when we were all here a year and a half ago, we had the whole room filled full of our concerns and what we wanted to see. And preservation, conservation, protecting our community was our number one goal. It wasn't recreation, it wasn't adding more campgrounds, it was managing what we had, and it was working for our community. All of them except for one were returned. So we just have the parking lot with all the notes. All of the rest that we, oh, did you find more?
No, but they're all typed in a booklet over there. I took them off the meeting. What everyone said
Oh,
got
excellent.
typed. So they are available. They're over there. If there's not enough, I will copy it before you leave. But everything that was said, with the exception of 2 or 3 words verbatim, are on that form. What everyone said, who said it, and everything. And then the parking lot is also typed up like that, so.
So maybe going through a few of the key items that were of key concern. It was the parking lot, the helipad, the community center shelter here, some more of our protection of our private property rights. We were discussing that, you know. So I don't know who would like to step in and really talk, but know that we're gonna have to do this again. I'm gonna request immediately following this meeting that an email goes out to the other 2 commissioners, immediately expanding and having another formal meeting that we can get out to the public. We need to address our comprehensive plan, and we can't just keep pushing it down the road like it doesn't exist anymore. We have a voice, and it's not being heard.
Thank you, EJ. Go ahead, that's fine.
Anybody have any comments, suggestions on what they see the port doing now or like to do in the future, or?
We can start in the front row if you'd like. Chris Tompkins, do you have anything to say?
I plan to come and make notes and observe more. I did think, I didn't attend the last meeting, but there was a discussion of the helipad in the parking lot for emergencies, and I had thought that that was a good idea.
Eddie?
Yeah, I'm Ed Zoden. I was a commissioner here for several years, and so I guess I have a little insight into what the port's about, and especially Chris Phelan, who I think this port's still here because of her. And so, the job of the commissioners, the way I see it, is to keep the port solvent. And a lot of the ideas here don't seem to address that. And right now we have a lot of logging revenue that will be going away. And when that goes away, the port needs to have other incomes besides that to stay solvent. And so therefore, I mean, you need to promote limited growth as far as I'm concerned. And pursue financial opportunities. They don't have to be great, huge projects or anything, because I know there's a rural community and a lot of people aren't involved, don't want development. But there's things that can be done that would give the port a little income. And the port is also here to serve all citizens of the county and the state, not just the local people. And so there's a big discrepancy in the people that live down here and the people that live in the other districts of the port, because there's 3 districts. And I know that the people where I live up at Haven Lake have a lot different ideas on what should happen compared to the people that live down here. So, because I was the commissioner for a while, for the last several years, I've discussed access to the canal with not only the people where I live, but also the people from the campground. And the one thing that keeps coming up is that we need access to the canal and a boat ramp. And I know that sets off a lot of people because some people don't want a boat ramp. But we used to use the Mankey land down there where the oyster house was, and it was lousy because it had to be high tide. And now that it's gone, we have no access from basically the Port of Allen to Seabed. And so in 1980, the port, as part of their comprehensive plan, developed a plan for a campground and a park, and here it is right here. I'll pass these around. Maybe you want to pass around if you haven't seen those.
That plan was, that was still in our last
Yeah, it's still part
comprehensive
of the
plan.
comprehensive plan now.
Right. I'm just,
Sorry
you know,
about these copies, it was a double thing, and anyway, it's just something to look at to get an idea. But, as part of that plan, it has to do with a park and some picnic tables. This is on the old school property on Dewatto Beach Drive.
are you
It's a 10
suggesting
acre.
that the port pursue that plan?
It's been, well, I'm just going, it's been part of the, since 1980, so I'm
That's
just.
one reason why some people want to change it, because of that. You know, because it's been in that plan, and I
Well,
think the people around here have discredited that concept, but,
oh, well, anyway, if I can
that's
continue
just my
on,
opinion,
if I can continue on though.
Oh, sure, keep it light, short.
Yeah. Anyway, and a boat ramp is part of the deal. And it's been important enough to where it was part of the 2005 comprehensive plan. So
Where,
so
whose
people
land
that-
does the boat launch go on?
I'm sorry.
Whose land does the boat launch go on?
It's on the DNR land. Well, during part of the comprehensive plan is actually Virgil Timmerman, one of the property owners down there, was going to donate 25 feet of his land. So.
He's sitting right behind you, you know.
Well, anyway, hey, how you doing? Anyway, apparently when you were a commissioner, according to the minutes of the meeting, at one point you were gonna donate 25 feet of land, is that correct? That's correct. Okay, there we go.
So, there we go, that was how many years ago, Ed?
Yeah, you're kinda interrupting me, I would like to just continue on a little bit, and then maybe afterwards, if you don't like what I'm putting forth, you can say,
Ask
rather
the
than being argumentative, but anyway, it was important enough to where it's always been part of every comprehensive plan, and in the 2005 comprehensive plan, which you should have out here.
I know the comprehensive plan
Well,
quite well, Ed.
it should be out here where you could show people, but anyway, it's been
It's
part
on our
of,
website, isn't it?
it's not in the
Comprehensive
website.
plan,
I don't know that that is the.
the
book is over there.
2005 I thought that was on our website.
It might be, I don't recall seeing it, but I didn't look for it either, but
thought
the book
you
is
put-
over there. I posted this meeting.
No, the comprehensive plan, didn't you?
There's no way for me to post that plan on the website,
Ray
it's
was,
bound.
Ray was going to get electronically or have it
Oh,
posted,
Ray
and I
was.
don't know that it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right.
Too bad.
So, anyway, it's important enough to where it's always been part of the comprehensive plan every time they've updated it. So, at this point, because there's this need for access, I've never talked to anybody that didn't want a boat ramp down there. Everybody would like to have access to the water. You know, everybody where I live just loves the idea of it. Let's get it done. There's grant money that's available through the Department of Natural Resources. The Fish and Wildlife is all for it. And it would be something that would be good for all citizens to have access to water. I'd love to be able to go down there and have a boat ramp, one that you can use, and not wait for a high tide.
Well, let's let somebody else speak and then we'll, can revisit that. It's definitely something that I expect people are concerned about. So thanks. Laurie?
Thank you. I would like to respond to what I think his name is Ed said. One of the frustrations for those of us living down here is that we were never a part of the comprehensive plans previously. So to me, it sounds like this is a comprehensive plan for Ed and not necessarily the collective whole of Dewatto Bay. And that was the purpose of having this update, because what you did in the 80s isn't reflecting the will of the people today. And it is very unfortunate that we're not able to actually have productive information that can be applied towards this future plan. So I'm going to reiterate what was said earlier. I hope that when the other two commissioners who have really done an inservice and an injustice to this community can put together a meeting that I understand they approved in January. So they knew 6 weeks ago that this was a meeting for today. It's really disappointing that they're not here. They're shirking their duties. And I really do hope that the plan that you adopt in the future is a plan that represents the collective whole and not just Ed. And going back to public access, how about community fishing derbies the last weekend in April for Havens Lake and Collins Lake? Can the public access those lakes, and can we have some community fun there? Because it seems the whole focus is down here in this district. So that's just the opposite comments from what Ed said.
I'd like to camp at Haven Lake.
Thank you.
I'd just like to say real quick that we are having our regular meeting on Wednesday, this coming, the 20th. So you're more than welcome to come and talk to the other two commissioners at that time as well.
But the last time we had a special meeting, there wasn't any commissioners here then either.
There was one.
One, so we couldn't do what we were gonna do then, right?
Yeah, where are they at? What?
1998 I was here, and there was only 2 people in the room, and I just came with my grandmother and I. And that's when they actually were having a discussion on the comprehensive plan, and they were adopting it.
Just so that we're on the same page, the purpose 2 years ago was to give input on what you would like to see done with the comprehensive plan, which you all came, or most of you came, and Lynn was the only one here. So yes, it made it just a forum. And unfortunately, the same thing has happened this year because Dave's the only one here. But the purpose of you coming here today is to give your input, and we will move forward with it, but we can only move forward with the other commissioners when they know what happened at the meeting. So it's not like, I understand you're wasting your time because it's not a special meeting, but I like to meet all of you. So, anyone else? Lori?
I'm going to make this very quick, but just to help expedite for when we do have the official meeting, is there going to be a consultant or a professional in land use that can help the board work through the process and having a viable update that we really feel like we, the community, has participated in, that will become an action plan? Because while I know you're all great commissioners, you're not professional land use planners, so it might be helpful if there is a consultant that can help us through this process. It's just a thought to help validate the time that we're all putting into showing up for these meetings.
Thanks, Lori, we can.
Write that down.
Is this comprehensive plan a mandatory thing that every port is required to submit?
I don't just personally believe so. I don't see any statutory authority. I'm not certain on that. Districts, any agency with a population above a certain level is required to by the RCW 36, the growth management. I'm not certain that we have to. The port doesn't have any regulatory authority, code enforcement, permits. So we don't make land use decisions. I don't see that we actually would have to have any comprehensive plan myself. I'm not certain where but it's something that has I'm not sure what trouble we get in without one. I think it is a guideline and hopefully expresses communities' ideas going forward on what they would like to see in their area and with the management of a port district if it exists.
Well, certainly, I don't even understand the notion of trying to do anything that's gonna bring the public to your area. The whole idea is, but, Don Henley said it, you name something paradise, kiss it goodbye. And that's just the simple truth of it all. I mean, none of us out here, most all of us, I can't speak for everybody, but just by virtue of the fact we live where we do, none of us are civic-minded sorts. I don't want anything to do with town or a bunch of people, especially the public, anything that would generate any reason for people to come here. I'm strictly against it. And the park, and like this gentleman was saying, the real problem is that there's a tremendous disparity here in this park district, as big as it is, and who gets impacted by some of these decisions. You and I, Dave, I mean, we live, my property almost touches the campground. I'm tremendously impacted by that place. And you and I and everybody in here know the public cannot be trusted. When we have these 90 and 100-degree days, one on top of another, and there's a burn ban down at that park, people will not pay attention to that. You know it, and so do I. I've gone down there. I worked my whole life to have what I have here in this beautiful place. And I'll be damned if some creep from Port Orchard is going to burn me out. I've gone down there and found not only campfires, but unattended campfires. Somebody started a fire and decided to hike down to the bay. I mean, it's scarier than hell, is what it is. A wildfire in this valley would be so catastrophic. And these are the chances we're taking, and I don't understand why we're even taking the chance.
So
Close that damn thing.
you would think going forward that something the port would consider would be not having that campground there at all?
Absolutely. I mean, I get the noise, I get the garbage, I get the fear of people who are not responsible enough to take care of what, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean,
It's a
Tom.
very fearful thing for me in a hot summer. And then, of course, I become the big a-hole for going down there and, talking to people, hey, and, I'm in no position of genuine authority other than I'm just a local resident here, and I'm gonna go talk to these people.
Right, you're a local resident, you have the right to tell somebody not to burn. I mean,
Yeah, but it can lead to problems. I've only had one guy
That's true.
get surly with me, but most people are, pretty condescending, and they'll say, hey, but
You never know.
you just don't know. Anyway,
2 years ago, when you had the comprehensive plan meeting, a couple of you had mentioned, and I'm just gonna use what was it, a rent-a-cop, even if it was Friday and Saturdays, and I think EJ, you were one of them that had mentioned security, maybe even Friday or Saturday. I have looked into that, and it will be presented to the meeting on Wednesday of, just a possibility. We were hoping, that Ray and Ted would be here so that we could discuss more things with you guys. So when you do speak, could you please identify yourself so I know who you are? Yeah.
Suzanne Stevens.
Hi, I'm
my name
Suzanne
is Tom.
Stevens.
I know you, Tom.
I'm Suzanne Stevens, and first of all, I want to thank Dave. I know you spent your own money and sent out letters, which is probably the only reason I know about this meeting. So thank you very much. So I had two things, and I think, Dave, I told you about one, and that is, a lot of people are concerned about the boat that's out in the bay. That's sort of sunk there, and I guess at low tide, it's pretty much exposed. And I also know I've contacted DNR about the boat, the derelict boat division, and they really don't have the money, and it's pretty low on their priority list. And I'm wondering if there's anything that the port can do to maybe exert some influence on the derelict boat division, or maybe, I don't know, fund something to get that boat dealt with. I know the owner of the boat's been contacted many times, and obviously, he doesn't have the money to pull the boat out of there, and even if you fine him, what good's it do? You don't get blood out of a turnip, right? So that's one concern, to see what the port might be able to do with that boat. And the other thing is that once upon a time, people knew one another in this area. And I think we've kind of lost that community feeling. And I'm wondering if there's anything that the port can do to provide some sort of maybe social gatherings. We all pay taxes for the port. And it would be nice to be able to see a return on that, simply by getting people together so we know one another, so that when there's an emergency, that we know who we can contact in the area. I don't know if this is the proper time to bring that up, but those are just two of the ideas I had.
Actually, it is, and I know all of you don't have the printout from 2017, but as each person said something, I put in bold print, and that was one of the things, to meet your neighbors and come to the port and have a social event, emergency training, emergency shelter, all that was in there, just so, yeah, we are up to date on that. I would like to see all of you. I'm not from Mason County, so I would like to know who the managing of the port. I'd like to know who all of you are. EJ?
This really gets back to the neighborly aspect of our community. Our entire demeanor start with your family, your household, your next door neighbors, and then your local community. And, you know, Mr. Soden would like to see more campgrounds and this, and, you know, and introduce more people that we don't even know who they are. That's fine if that's what the community wants. But that's not what the community really wants if you look at Dave's district. The best thing for people from Haven Lake is to have a potluck up there and invite the other districts up and come see their jewels and their resources and see their neighborhood. You know, get to know your neighbor and act like a neighbor instead of sneaking around, taking pictures and trying to figure out how you're going to build a campground somewhere, or even turning in your other neighbors for stupid things. There's been a lot of distrust between people. You need to get back to being people, you know. If you need to repair your board on your dock, repair your board on your dock. You know, don't turn your neighbor in because you just repaired a board. But if he's building a new dock, I guess you probably should turn him in. But the whole point here is that there's a disconnect between the districts. And our district with Dave has had all the brunt of the development for the last 20 years. This port building's in our district, the campground's in our district, the boat ramp was in our district. All the advertising for the entire website goes to our district. There's two other districts that have specialty resources that we can utilize. If we want to build another campground, let's build one up by Haven Lake, let's build one up by Collins Lake. I guarantee you the other two commissioners will be here at every comprehensive plan meeting as we move forward if they've got such a problem, a nuisance, or a jewel, if they call it, in their backyard. It'll be how they manage it, I guess, or how we manage it. The last question that I truly have, though, goes to the port itself. I've done a lot of investigations. The original port never included Collins Lake or Havens Lake, so how did we annex that in? Because as the original port district, we never got a vote. And I'm looking back at like the comprehensive plan just being established. I believe that the actual districts itself could have been illegally created without the true intent and the law being followed. So we need to go back and look if even Haven Lake and Collins Lake are even legal districts to be in our port.
Well, another thing is I think it makes a lot more sense to have the campgrounds where the ORV happens. Like out here, it's private property around all of these campgrounds that are here, so people are actually breaking the law trying to get to the ORV trails that are sanctioned by what, DNR out there. We should have a campground where people could actually use the land that they're using. You know, I think that makes a lot more
And
sense.
that's by Haven Lake.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Andy.
Very good.
That's one of the biggest things that happens out here is motorcycle riding, ATV riding, you know. That's pretty important for this area. If you look, like every other car that comes out has a dirt bike behind it, you know, or a truck. So it is a resource that's used quite a bit, and there's no amenities for those guys to have a place to stay the night.
I'd like to reply a little, Suzanne. I talked again with Troy Wood, the program manager of the derelict boat here 2 days ago. You know, I told him I was a commissioner with the Port of Dewatto and people are complaining and what could be done. He reiterated that now that the boat has sunk, it is on their top priority list. As soon as their funding comes in, which won't be until July. My good friend Gene contacted legislators in the committees that would be involved, and she actually got a reply from Christine Rolfs, who had her office contact DNR, and they gave her the same position, that they're all out of money and it depends on what the legislature funds them. I don't know if the port, if we could think, the port has very little real authority. I mean, I would guess that we could have some type of letter or some, the commissioners could sign and expressing our concern and pass that on to CC Hillary Franz or something.
What about if we got floating? I mean, one of the problems is there's a lot of resources in this room that know what to do to save these boats, to pull them out, to even, the boat's trash, right? But who wants to pay the $2,000 dumping fee and $5,000 worth of work to go out there and reclaim this? And then what type of permits if you spill something? So there's some liability issues. But I know we can get it floating, which would be better than have it sitting on the bottom, and maybe we could tow it to a destination where then they.
How about Holly?
Yeah, well, you know. we could try and figure out a location. If you could reach out, is there any ramifications to the citizens within our district or our port to get that boat at least floating and not making it such a hazard for pollutants in the water and then also navigability hazards? Because all we gotta do is go out there on low tide with pumps, pump it out, and the thing will float. It doesn't have holes, it filled full of rain and then sunk. So if we just get the
Well,
water
it
out,
does have a through-the-hull fitting of some kind. I was watching it low tide yesterday. There's about, it looks like a 4-inch pipe or something that comes out of the bottom of the stern. And as the tide, at low tide, you could watch the water pouring out this pipe, draining presumably the inside. I do not know what that.
would be the exhaust.
Is there a underwater, if there's an underwater exhaust, that's where, at this point, you can watch water drain out of there. I suppose one could plug it, pump it.
I'm sure.
I'm sure it
Well, it
does.
doesn't even have the engines in it as far as I know.
I've never been in it.
I've never been in it, but I mean, I was told that he had them removed.
I
I was
would
gonna
think
rebuild
the
them.
ecology department would be interested.
Well, what?
Where is that?
Well, as you drive out Dewatto Beach Road, the first, about a quarter mile off to the right there.
It's in Dewatto Bay.
Right in the, yeah.
Right in the middle of the bay.
Quite a ways in the bay.
Ramifications.
Kind of opposite that spit of land that comes off of Vance's
Okay.
property. I assume it's DNR land, so to speak. I don't know what happens if you trespass on their property, if you touch their boat. It's their boat now, right?
Does
Well, that-
anybody need a break? Because we'll just keep going if you don't need a break. If you want a break, you're more than welcome.
Okay.
We're all good? Okay. Anybody else?
DNR can't maintain a simple boat, but they think they're gonna contain and wanna try and get all of Dewatto Bay. How are they gonna ever protect this resource when they can't even clean up a boat?
That's a good point.
Whatever happened with that anyway, I haven't heard anything.
The natural resource area, they have postponed it, but they're gonna come back and revisit it later on. So it's a 2-year cycle, so they missed their funding source for this 2 years, but they're gonna come back 2 years from now. They're not gonna give up until they're gonna keep going. The boat will still probably be there too.
I was just gonna say that, boat's been there since 4 years.
I've lived out here since 2005, the boat's been there since then, at least.
Not that boat.
There's been a different one.
You're thinking of the sailboat.
The sailboat.
No, I'm thinking of the big,
No,
Oh, that boat is on the shore now, but it was sitting out in the, almost the same spot, and almost the same size of the boat
I
too.
think they have that up on shore. It doesn't.
Yeah, the Vance is old.
Yeah.
But then there's a new one that came in with a bunch of garbage that's sunk.
I'm Kathy Kroll. We just live about a half mile down the road. I just want to have a question about this comprehensive plan we keep hearing about. This is actually the second special meeting that we've attended here, and it's talked about, and I remember we didn't have a copy of it then as attendees of the meeting. We still don't have a copy of it now. It's not on the website. So how do we get a copy of this plan? I'm sorry if you already said it and I'm making you repeat it, but I don't remember hearing how we can actually get a copy of it, because we keep talking about this elusive thing, and we need to see in black and white what's in it.
There is one book over there that can be browsed through. Apparently, Ray was supposed to get it electronically put on. If I can find out how that can be done, I will go ahead and do it, but he was going to, so, I could take the, yes, I could take the binding off and go to copy that and make some copies.
Could you possibly do that?
Why waste the money? This thing is
Or scan it.
20 years.
And then we weren't even gonna use that, were we, Dave? We were gonna do a whole new one, I thought.
Well, the consensus was there wasn't anything
That they,
worth saving in there except for a couple of things.
Well, if it wasn't worth saving,
That was the
then why are we
consensus.
still talking about all the things that are in the comprehensive plan?
Well, I'm trying not to.
I
I'd
think
like
'cause
to
they
go
don't want
forward.
So we need the other commissioners here to vote, to throw it out and start over, but they never show up to have a quorum. This is, it's going on 20 years.
Yeah, okay.
wow.
Well-
Supposedly they're having their meeting Wednesday, but I have things I do on Wednesday,
I know.
so I'm never here.
Well, and I guess one of the commissioners is actually camping.
Is he that?
Or is he out of the
no,
Well, when are these commissioners coming up for, when is their term over? I mean, we need to stand up as citizens and use our power to vote and vote these people out.
The people not, I was appointed to fill a position in November of 2017. If I choose to, I can put my name in this coming summer.
right.
The other two commissioners who are not here had their terms extended for 6 years, I believe in 2018 in the last election. So the two commissioners in the other districts where we aren't registered are safe for, I guess, 4.5 years. So there's your answer.
So the other commissioners from the other districts that want to see the development for most all the residents that are here never attend the meetings so that they can actually be forced to make a vote on how to change all the development that's in just one district of the 3 districts in the port, which is Dave's district. So
That may not be a correct characterization of the opinions of the other two commissioners, but
and
you're
one of the
entitled to an
commissioners,
opinion.
one of the commissioners had, from what I understood, actually had a real family event. It wasn't designed, it happened, so I do believe that one of the commissioners would have strategically been here if he could have been here. And I believe the commissioner also, the second commissioner that's not here, had a trip planned for quite a while, and he didn't think he needed to attend because there was gonna be 2 commissioners anyway, but now there's none, or there's just one. either way, it's an embarrassment for all of us, and it is frustrating. We're all here again to try and voice our concern in managing our community, and we can't do anything.
It is going to be a public record. If anybody has anything else they'd like to comments they would like to record. Don, would you have any?
Do you have
Comment?
comment that you want to make? Do you have any comment you want to make? Not today, we're just kind of blurry today.
I'd like to respond to some of the stuff that's been said pertaining to what I was speaking about. First of all, my idea of a boat ramp isn't for me, it's for all the citizens, not only of these districts, but of the county and the state. There's no access to the canal on this side of the canal for miles and miles. And it's not a ridiculous idea to bring it up. And it'd be good for everybody. It's not just for me. I don't have some kind of a hidden agenda.
Isn't there a boat launch by Ballpoint? I think you have to pay.
Those are private. Oh, there's the summertime resort, but it's a lousy boat ramp as far as.
I've never been to it, but
any kind of a large vessel would have a hard time getting in.
Well, any kind of a vessel down here in the bay would have a hard time. It's not very deep.
You gotta have a
No,
6 foot tide.
it wouldn't be in at the Oyster House where the old boat ramp was, the dirt boat ramp that they let us use. This would be out on the DNR property where it's out by the Speaker's place.
So are you
Further out where you could access
Well, just to be
it.
clear, DNR has no waterfront property in the
You
bay.
could access it at a medium tide, probably like a 5 foot tide. You could get it there because it's deeper and the ramp wouldn't have to extend out that far. And it's been looked after.
And your idea is not far-fetched. It would be nice to have a boat ramp. Unfortunately, when you paint this picture, you also forget that Dewatto Beach Drive is a single-lane road with 40-foot vertical bluffs mostly around the entire area, and then 90% privately owned. So when you look at where you're going to build this boat ramp, are you going to put the $1.5 million of infrastructure to improve the road to get down there? Where are you going to park the trailers? What about the residents that live at the end of the road? They go back to the 1900s when it was just a goat trail. How are you going to protect their life safety from people in boat trailers all the way around? Now a fire truck can't get through. So the boat ramp is a good prospect. I'd like that. I think the best location for it was on where it was located, but you can never get a big boat in. And you're limited geographically to the entire shoreline from Ballpoint all the way to Squim. We go from sea level to 500 feet within a half a mile inland. So where can you successfully build a boat ramp? It's strategically, I'm sorry you like the boat, Ed, but maybe canoes are the way to go. I just don't see us building a big boat ramp down here. Geologically, it can't be done.
Yeah, you gotta have places for parking when you, after you put your boat in, so that you can go use your boat.
If I can respond before I got interrupted again. The school property across the road from the beach isn't that elevated. It's probably about 10 feet. And it wouldn't take much to, and then there's 10 acres that's already owned by the DNR. And in conjunction, if the port would get involved with them, there's recreational opportunity grant money that's available for this kind of development because the DNR and the fisheries recognize that we need access to the canal. I mean, everybody would like to have access. I know everybody where I live would love to be able to go down and launch a boat somewhere without having to drive clear around to the other side of the canal. Some of the greatest fishing is right out here in front in the summertime. But it's a very doable site because it would not take, you're a dirt worker, you know. There on where the school property is, there's 10 acres that's already owned. The elevation isn't that much, and it wouldn't take much to have an elevated ramp across the road.
To what, private property? It's all private property around the DNR school district property. So what are you gonna do? You're just gonna ignore the historical deeds and titles? And the boat ramp that you're referring to, it was actually designed by Mr. Timmerman on Mr. Timmerman's property in that comprehensive plan, showing that it was private property. So the upland property, the school district, there is tidelands, commercially owned or publicly owned, but they don't connect to the school district property, so you're gonna have a disconnect.
Well, anyway, you're spouting out a lot of facts that's your opinion of the facts, that I think it's quite opposite. So you're taking it and running with it. I'm just throwing it out there as, I think it's a great idea and it's worth pursuing, and to throw it away, to throw it out of the future comprehensive plan, to me,
He's had his time. I need to counter what he just said. He doesn't live down here. We've had campers in the DNR property before. They've left fecal matter, they've left trash, they've done drugs, they've littered, they've had bonfires that have not been contained. It became a cesspool and a problem for the property owners on Dewatto Beach Drive. I would like to see a campground and a boat launch in your backyard up there on one of those lakes, so you can firsthand experience how miserable it is to have uncontrolled public access. So, now, I just had to counter that. What I really want to say is I think that the Port of Dewatto needs to focus on preservation of its resources. It needs to focus on the helipad. It needs to focus on emergency management. And I would love to see this building become certified for a disaster so that people know they can come here and have the resources that they need. It had historically been done that way, but I think we're no longer compliant.
We're pretty close.
But those are positive things that will go back to what Suzanne was saying about community involvement and feeling a sense of community. In a disaster, we could all come here and know that, one, we'll be protected, but we could pitch in and help out too. What a great sense of community to be focusing on positive things like that. And I really hope that's the direction this comp plan can go. This recreational fundraising going to make money, we already found we go broke with the campground that we have. There's no way that this port can expand and think they're going to maintain and manage something bigger. So we need to be realistic.
The emergency management Red Cross person is coming to the meeting Wednesday to go over what we need to complete to become the emergency shelter, disaster relief shelter, again Wednesday. I have been working really hard on things that are important to the people and the port. I don't know everyone, but I want you to know that I am pro-port, and I'm trying to do everything that would, work, so.
So kudos to you guys. I think you've already got the first chapter of our new comp plan just about done. I can't congratulate you enough. That's a job well done.
I would just like to say that if we're getting back to the subject of the boat ramp, not all of us are, well, us, and I'm sure there are others here that don't know who owns what land, where, and where exactly they're talking about putting this boat launch. And could we see something in the future before we start talking again about something that we do not have access to in black and white? Let's get it on paper so that we can actually know.
There is absolutely nothing been discussed or talked about in any kind of real terms about the Port of Dewatto being involved in any boat launch.
Okay.
It is something that comes up because people care. There's people out there who would like to see one because we had one.
Well,
But
this is
the
my
port
point,
has
David.
not got involved in that at all.
This is my point. If someone would like to see it, like this gentleman in the front row, let's get it on paper and present it to everybody in a meeting such as this one, or on the Wednesday night meetings or something, so that we can all look at what you're proposing rather than, I don't know where this is that you're talking about and what all is involved. Let's do the research, get it on paper so it's in black and white for everyone to see. It's just a suggestion.
Yeah, just a quick contradiction. This is, that's why it keeps coming, it's part of the comprehensive plan.
So you're going back to a 2005, we gotta throw that plan that is gone.
I know, but that shows what the idea was, and it's got the minutes, and all the meetings where the port was involved in this. I'm sure, I know it's old and stuff, but
My wife and I were, because I think the idea of having a boat launch is a good idea. But after listening to what this gentleman was saying, it sounds like it's an awful idea. And what this lady said with the problems you've had with people
Campers and stuff.
trashing out, okay. But strategically, it seems like a great idea that you should have some access to the water. We are a port authority for people.
Well, yeah, if it was a ramp, community involvement, we could help police it, and the port could not only
Yes,
manage it, but they could get the
overcome.
income from it. But, it is part of the, if you read that comprehensive plan, unfortunately, there's only one booklet, but it's got the whole history of when it first came up, which Virgil was part of in 1980. And then we went through all the motions to try, and even in 2005, Mason County was all for it. They accepted as part of their county comprehensive plan. So I mean, it's a very doable thing. It's not a horrible idea. I know that a lot of people don't want
to be
it.
more current.
Yes,
Yeah.
well, and not
No,
only,
it does, and it
not
needs to
only
get
more,
educated.
not only more current, but have copies of that so that we can all look at it
Yeah.
when we get together in
Yeah,
a meeting
no,
like this, instead of referring us to one booklet
Yeah,
that's
no,
sitting over on the
it's a
shelf.
horrible thing, but.
That's that won't work.
Well, and the port built, back in the early 90s, they built stairs to the DNR beach to access the floats, and they even put in the boat skids for the smaller boats.
Yes.
You know, and those are gone now, but I think that we should try and retroact those floats. I mean, here, if you have to put your boat in, and let's just say short-term until this gets figured out, the port has the capability of managing those floats down there for our community.
With
And
your
there's
clarification, those are in east of the headlands.
east of the headlands, you know where the old floats are, just past the boat that sunk, you got the historical dock floats.
Right.
And those were originally put in the 50s, 40s, and there used to be a houseboat on there. There used to be a house. Gordon Roth used to live on there. When my grandparents would come down, they'd swing in and buy shrimp from the guy. So this has a lot of history there, but it could keep your bigger boats, if this is maintained, moored and watched by the community. And then when you guys are done, you can boat around until we figure out how to build a bigger boat ramp. Problem we got is Dewatto Bay's shallow. And then you got steep embankments where you have deep water access. And then when you get to the deep water access, you usually have the north wind ripping through at 30 knots, so you're never gonna get your boat on your trailer to begin with. It makes like a pretty picture to have a boat ramp here for convenience, but the truth is it wouldn't be the best location. But a smaller access point where you can have the skids for your 12 and 14-foot little aluminum boats to get out and go putts around, I think that could be something that we can actually do. And there's a lot more people with smaller boats than the bigger boats.
It's a place to start.
It is as good, it's a starting spot.
Well, it's a double-edged sword, though. I mean, I think, personally, I think it's a good idea to put a boat launch in no park. My wife and I live currently in Purdy.
And could you tell me who you are? I'm sorry.
I'm Jason Wolcott.
Okay, thank you.
We live in Purdy. Right at the bottom of our hill, there's a boat launch in the Purdy Spit area that's just a launch, and across the Highway 302 is like a 60 by 100 maybe dirt lot. It works out freaking awesome. It's awesome. And all they have there for amenities is just a sandy can. That's it. Nothing else. And it looks awesome all the time. There's nothing going bad. There's no drugs being done down there that are, it's easy to be doom and gloom and fear. Yeah, it happens, sure, sometimes. But this is so far freaking out. And if the tides are as bad as they are, right, and there's no water out there, people know that. They know that this isn't going to be a great launch to go to. So it's not going to be ever busy, except for the people that want to use it and know the tide plans and know that things are the way they are, right? Anybody that comes out here is going to truck all the way out from wherever to come out here and realize they can't launch their freaking boat and come back again.
No, we just got all the squatters and the motorhomes and all the drugs, and that's why Minky tore down their boat ramp, because it was that bad. They were actually running around naked, having sex, shooting up heroin. It was not good. And it was horrible. And then the garbage came with it, like the
No,
trash.
I get it.
So-
I get it.
We saw that.
I
We
get
saw
it.
the
I get it.
burning
Mattress
mattresses
down there
and
and
stuff,
whatnot, yeah.
all that.
And so they decided, Minky themselves decided to close that off.
No, right, I get it.
If the best location for what you're describing, for the cheapest cost, is that location. I mean, that's geologically the best location for a ramp, is where it historically had been. Now, you got Minky Timber Company that is not gonna wanna give it away.
No,
so-
I get it.
But
the one thing the port could do is reinvestigate with Mankey to see if they'd be willing to part with that parcel. Now, I was kind of hoping that Mr. Edwards, who's been on the commission for quite a while, would have been here, because he might have an answer to that. You know, I know the port's probably tried in the past to buy that land. I don't know if it asks every year, have you changed your mind, have you changed your mind, and how much it costs. But I mean, that would be something the port, I guess, could look into, acquiring that land from Mankey, if that was something that was,
Well, don't
if
we
that was
rent,
something, what?
don't we rent the
campground from Minky?
No, the port owns 1 acre of that land outright, the center of that campground. And then another acre on the perimeter of that 1 acre is leased from me.
Why don't we try and just lease that area for the boat launch?
Well, it's something that,
And we
maybe,
don't know whether he's using it for something else yet.
well, maybe it's something.
There isn't any trees on it, so.
Maybe it's something we ought to
Minky's complaint about the campground is that it's not being maintained to their
They
standards.
have had that.
Yeah.
It's gotten a lot better this last year, I'd say, huh?
Well, we've only been here a year and a half now,
Open it to the
and
public.
I don't know. I only know what I've seen lately. I know a lot of people from the campground come up that hill into my property. So,
I'd like, Rich, again, my name is Rich Kroll. I like the tag on this concern, people coming onto her property because she lives nearby. Tom, I think you live nearby the campsite as well?
I'm the closest resident to it.
You're the log house, right?
Yes.
Okay,
We're
and you
down
also
behind,
had
we're down past here,
incidents where you've had people
right at the end of the canal.
violate or disagree with your burn bans, our burn bans. So if people are burning during a burn ban. As Commissioner David, do you have any authority to shut that down when those things happen?
The campground we
Yeah.
post, when a burn ban happens, like last year, we did a good job of signing big signs about the state of the burn bans and allowable burning. After, if somebody burns after that, we didn't have much actual people burning after we posted those signs.
It got better.
But what kind of authority do you have as the commissioner or anyone?
Well, we could, if they violate the rules by burning during a burn ban, they can be asked to leave. You could, we could call the sheriff, they would be a deputy, they would be trespassing at that point.
Okay, good. And the fire department, you can contact?
Well,
them
the
as
fire department can do the same. Anytime there's somebody violating a burn ban, you can call 911, and the fire department will investigate that call.
How about, Dave, if we close it during a burn ban?
It's an option.
Some of these folks might be willing to trust these people, I don't.
Probably, I mean, people reserve spots at that campground a long time ahead of when we know any type of burn ban's gonna happen. But that's a thought, I mean, that is
Just
your,
tell them, hey, a
that's your
burn ban
idea.
will supersede any of this.
Yeah, you're right.
And yeah, they'd rather, I mean, just because they
True.
lose a camp spot doesn't mean that they're not losing the camp spot forever. If it burns up, it's gone, you know, so.
There you go.
And then all of our assets, our history here is gone. I mean, that thing, they had the fires here that burnt from Tahuya to Belfair, you know, back in the early 1900s.
I don't see any reason why that, closing the campground during extreme conditions couldn't be on the table to consider.
Mhm. Flights get canceled all the time, you know, so sorry, but it's, the problem that we have is that it is so rural. And Ed, I know that there's other people that like to use that campground no matter what, but, and I know that there's been a lot of patrolling. I know Mr. Soden has actually gone down there multiple times patrolling it himself when he was a commissioner too. Thank you for that. But the truth of the matter is, we don't have a full-time person watching 24 hours what takes place. And all of us are campers. What do we do when we camp? We usually party too. And we're usually cutting loose and having fun. And we're not out here to regulate. We're not out here to work. And so what you get is you get just a natural neglect of reality and responsibility from 90% of the campers. So if we have these extreme conditions, we should close the campground down until they leave.
I'm not sure if I agree with your 90% assessment there. I think that's a little bit extreme.
Okay, 50-50.
And also this whole idea of going partying. I mean, is there nobody that uses the Dewatto campground for just, you know, camping with their
A
children?
lot of families
It
use
takes
the
just
campground.
one group.
I get it.
Just
I
one.
get it. To
One
ruin it
ding
for
dong
everyone
to
else.
burn you out.
I get it, but campgrounds have things posted that, you know, no outside fires permitted and during burn bans and all that. I get it, but maybe it's just because we're law-abiding citizens, but we didn't observe a lot of that going on when our children were young, and we used to camp around with them, you know, wherever we went. campfires are a great part of camping, but they do not have to be part. So to close it down is, I think, a little extreme.
No.
Maybe we could pay for just security during burn bans or something like that.
You cannot trust these people. Trust me, I live right next door to this park.
So are you saying that the people that choose to camp at Dewatto Campground are different than people
No,
who
no,
choose
I'm
to camp
saying-
everywhere else?
It's
I'm talking
unregulated
about
more.
The public in general. These are city folks for the most part, town people. They come out, they're not responsible enough. Believe me, I don't know how many times I've gone to that park.
We were down there 4 times last
Like
year.
I said, everything I've worked my whole life for is invested in that 20 acres that almost touches that park. And believe me, it's not overkill to close that thing. That way, I mean, why even take a chance
Sure.
that some ding dong is gonna light the damn valley on fire? It isn't even worth the chance.
And I do want to respond to a comment that you made and comment that I made, is that you do get a different type of people to going out to the far edges of the rural landscape where there's no police, there is no fire, and there is nobody patrolling and protecting.
Yeah.
You get problems more than you would if you were camping down at Bremerton or Belfair State Park. You get problems.
That
In
state
fact,
park. You know,
yeah.
people are shooting down there.
3 murders just from here to Seebeck in the last 3 years on to Wattle Holly Road. So you don't see that at the other campgrounds either. And what else we have here at this campground is that in the wintertime, before we closed it, I didn't see any families camping. All I saw were troublemakers, squatters, drug deals taking place, and a bunch of partying. When we closed it off in the winter, we have gotten rid of the majority of that in our area. So they can't camp anymore. The Oyster House was their backup plan, then they got rid of the Oyster House. So we've been proactive at managing the resource. We pay to have this nuisance as the taxpayers for the port.
Is this a revenue stream for the port? Is this a big one? And I'm naive to what brings money.
I think last year, what did the port made, Gene has got the numbers on that, maybe you want to present, bring that up.
By the way, Dave, I'd like
Not worth anything.
to go on record as saying, congratulations. Since you've been commissioner, that's the only time in 30 years that I know of that park is under control. You've brought it under control. It can be closed.
I think our port, our campground manager's done pretty good as far as.
Where is Joe?
Over there.
Thank you,
There
Joe.
you go.
Do you want to say anything about,
No, the only thing, as far as the fire, I agree with Tom. You know, there's been a number of folks got visited by the fire department that were non-compliant. And for the most part, it's been, but it only takes one idiot. They'll light up the whole place, so.
You can't post over there?
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm
Why even take a chance?
Yeah, I'm limited on hours. You know, I've had people approach me and say, hey, you need to be, well, I said, this is not Belfair State Park. I don't have a uniform and a salary.
But is there a full-time camp post there?
No, absolutely not, no. We're, me and the wife are limited to X amount of hours a week, reservations. And
It's not a state park, it's not a county park.
Yeah.
It is not.
So it's not a full-time
municipal park of
attendant.
any kind,
Yeah.
it belongs to the port.
I don't want to interrupt you.
No, that's all
Lori,
right.
can I go over
I'm
this
all
real
done.
quick?
Well, I think it's important for people that don't know the park. It's a primitive park. There's no running water, there's no outhouse, it's just a Santa can that's usually abused and disgusting, and the people that have to come and maintain it after big weekends have threatened many times to just not come back because it's so bad. So I think when we have extreme fire dangers and there are people ignoring the fire ban, the burn ban, it's a good tool to have in the toolbox to be able to close that campground during just those extreme summer weathers. Because without potable water, one spark and that place is going up.
If you're barely just clearing $100 after expense a month.
On average, what is the average?
It's not worth having.
It is actually absolutely not worth having. I mean, it's a-
I want to start from
Actually,
2014 when it was open year-round. Right, it was then, right?
We brought in $19,325. I don't know what the profit was because I wasn't here to go through everything. Just in 6 months last year, we brought in $21,930, and that's just in 6 months. With salaries, the garbage, the porta potties, stuff like that, our approximate cost per month was $3,400. We did end up with a profit at the end of the year, which wasn't a great amount, but it was a profit of $2,635. But that paid all the salary.
Salary for what?
Well, we have a campground coordinator.
So salary for the people regarding the campground. So in other words, if we get rid of the campground, get rid of the need for the salaries.
That's true.
But we lose then.
We'll lose any revenue that we have except
And
for
what
the
do we need it
taxpayers
for?
and the timber.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Yeah,
here's what we're being managed for. We have this entire port for a $2,000 net gain every year that could jeopardize all of our livelihoods in a fire, theft, whatever it could be, because we're just introducing all these people to come into this pristine gym as we are the true stewards of the land here as the landowners. We manage it better than any outsider will ever. Problem that we also got though by not having the port is that other agencies like the Department of Natural Resources or Mason County Parks could come in and redistrict us anyway and take our speaking power away and put it more generally into the fund of people. So we have this yin for yang here. Do we want to keep the port and have a voice? Then it needs to be profitable. It needs to break even. It doesn't need to be a master development plan like the previous comprehensive plan was with cell towers, mini storage units, condominiums. We can get rid of that and still do a primitive park that helps balance out the employee value that we have here. Closed for 6 months of the year so that there's no problems in the winter. Closed during extreme fire danger season. We might lose a little revenue, but it still gives us a community shelter for disaster. It still brings us together for a community, and it will still give us a voice from any other outside government agency of which I do not trust DNR at all.
I understand you then, if you lose the campground, the Port Authority goes away?
I don't know if it goes away or not. I just don't know if there'll be enough revenue to offset a decline. Eventually it will, because we'll run out of money.
Is that the only source of revenue for the port?
We have a rental of the building.
Huh?
We have rentals of the building.
This building?
We have, the property, we have, property tax and we have timber and that. And then we have investment income, I believe.
Most of the money the port receives for operating comes from, these excise tax, timber taxes, DNR, kickbacks on the logging they do. So most, I guess this is the budget for we projected.
Okay.
So that's over half the budget comes from general property taxes, takes in most of it, most of the revenue. And then, we get money from the logging that goes on in our area. And the other revenues from the campground and are small comparison. So we would have to say that it's, as a government, it's mostly tax supported.
Well, I'd like to say that, my wife and I, we bought property out here about a year and a half ago now. And we were looking for somewhere to buy investment property to move on to, when we get it, or, retirement years or whatever, and enjoy now. And the only reason why we came out here, we weren't even come out here looking for property, actually just come out to take a drive. My dad and I used to hunt and fish at Robbins Lake when I was this high, right? And when we came out here, we saw that the property around was exactly like it was 25 years ago. It hadn't changed. I was like, holy crap, how does that happen? It happens because Mankey owns everything out here. And it keeps people from coming out because there's no property to buy. The only property that we bought is recycled, right? It's not like there's all kinds of new property available. And that's why it stays like this, is because there's just not, you'll never have that influx of people out here unless somebody dies, moves away, or whatever, right? Because there's no more property to be had. Make sense?
It's all owned.
It's all privately owned, and kudos to you guys, you've kept it the way it was 30 years ago.
That's the way I,
You know?
when I bought the place that I'm in, is that's why I bought the place that I'm in out here. So
Right.
that it can't be developed all around.
Absolutely,
me.
yeah, for sure, you know?
That's where we have all the same mindset, like
Yeah.
Mr. Empey said.
Right.
That's why we're here.
Right.
We agree that we enjoy the nature, we agree that we enjoy our neighbors.
Right.
We may not always get along with our neighbors, but this is the closest community that I've ever seen in terms of being so far spread apart though. We have a great community here and it isn't developed. And it'll only take Mankey to sell out or
Oh,
the
yeah.
state to try and develop their campground. You get a big developer in here and they
No,
can.
I get it, but that being said, to close the campground, I mean, I used that campground when I was this tall. To close that, you're killing another generation of me, or you, or anybody,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
I
I
mean-
want to make it clear, I wasn't advocating just, let's get rid of it. I was
No, I'm
trying
not
to get
saying
some
you were, don't get me
background on the pros and cons of it. And along that same topic, when the campground is shut down for the winter, what's the trespassing problem? Do we have one?
That's been this year.
Because they put those rocks in there.
So the big-
Before, people were just going in there and squatting in there.
Yeah, just camping for free and leaving the grass.
Okay, so primarily, I guess the most vital concern with that campsite is people violate the burn ban. That's, and they get maybe too loud, and sometimes they might overparty.
Well, there's more than that, there's garbage and all kinds of whooping and hollering and shooting and everything else going on
Okay.
down
To me, if
Yeah,
they
they
wanted
go
to
to that
make
gravel
this
pit on
camp
Ridley.
a community
Up
facility,
the,
I'd feel a
up
lot
the road there, up
more
the
Yeah.
power line right.
Yeah, right at the bottom of our property.
Yeah.
Which is
If
fine,
it was strictly a community
that much?
facility,
I don't, I really don't.
I'd be a hell of a lot more comfortable than,
That's why it's here.
I've seen the public down there, trust me. Every year for the last 30.
Chris, you've done the books for the last 4 years, or helping with them. You've done a good job, and nobody really gives Chris Tompkins credit for helping manage the books, so I want to in almost every meeting for the last 30 years, took us through audits and everything from being out of compliance. The port really was in disarray up until, well, about the last 2-3 years, so.
Just that's going on, huh?
Yeah, it's been about a year and a half.
About a year and a half, so historically, when you look at cost versus, revenue versus profit for the campground, what has it been averaging and generating revenue from, what I remember, it's ranging $18,000 to $21,000 a year, but what are the costs, what is it netting a year roughly?
I have, Gina had the figure for this last year. I didn't go back and really look at the past years. Because it wasn't being managed that well, and then for a while there wasn't a campground coordinator. The manager had those duties, and that was a full-time manager, where now we have a part-time manager. So it'd be really hard to pull out how much of the salary went to the campground. So I didn't do that analysis because there was so much other things we were trying to clean up. So I'm sorry that I can't really give you a clear answer, but as far as the revenue, that was a little harder to determine also because the revenue wasn't being sent to the county timely. It's supposed to be sent like weekly or at least monthly, and there were 2 years that got all sent together. So it was a little hard to weave through that also.
It's all on track now, by the way.
So, but
It was in Chris's bank account.
And let's take a break, stretch and take a break, and then we can finish up, but I think we should stand up and walk around and get some coffee or juice or something to munch on, and cigarette break if you need to, and
Lost property.
thank you, Chris. Yeah, bring your snacks and your drinks and everything in with you, and I'll nap right along with you.
backhoe thing took him 3 hours to get down my driveway, so, you know, I get it.
I just want to let you know a little bit about what I do at the port. We used to have an executive director, and that title kind of went away, and I'm the port manager. I'm in charge of the payroll, the vouchers, the agenda meeting, the minutes to the meeting. I clean, I do some maintenance here. Dave does everything, and I have a picture of him on the ladder. He doesn't know. He doesn't know. We make sure that the taxes are paid. There was a couple of years of taxes that did not get paid. And when I came into this, there was 32 years of boxes of filing to take care of. A lot of it was filed. Chris Phelan had a very good paper trail, but it wasn't always in the right spot. And then a lot of stuff didn't get taken care of in the 2 years. And I came in and we have that all under control. Some of it still needs to be chronologically filed, but it's all filed. The taxes, we just got our last penalty from 2016. And hopefully that's good. All of 2018 is up to date. There are no taxes due, there's no penalties. The next taxes for us are our April property taxes. Thank you. We have a balanced bank account now after Chris taking about, oh gosh, I don't know, he took a long time. We worked together, she has been a godsend. The bank accounts have a balance, they're balanced every month, and they come out perfect. If not, we troubleshoot. I'm trying to get more rentals here to get more revenue, so the campground isn't the only revenue. And Dave is my backup. Dave and Chris are my backup. So if I can't do it, then I ask them and they make sure that it gets done. So I'm here 3 days a week now. So if you need anything, the coffee will be on, Sally.
Is it a variety of 3 days or what?
It's Monday, Wednesday, Thursday right now, because Wednesdays are our meetings once a month. So any of you that do have Facebook, I usually post every day to every other day. So I will get messages through there. Emails, I check the email every day, even at home on the weekends. I might not respond to it till the next day. And then there's also the port website, the Port of Dewatto, that you can get the email off of, or a phone number or anything like that. And we try to post stuff like that. Inclement weather, which I hope is gone, please. I may not come in if it's really bad, and Dave will let me know first thing, because he gets up really early. So, if there's any other questions on what I do with the port, Kathy?
Yeah, could you please give us the email that you were just referring to?
Okay, the email is info@portofdewatto.com or Gina, Jeana, @portofdewatto.com. We also have the campground phone number listed on our phone, on the answering machine.
That's good.
Okay. So. All right, we'll continue. Go ahead, Dave.
I guess we'd keep going for a half hour or so if anybody has anything else they would like to bring up, have mentioned, unrecorded. Mr. Walcott.
They were talking, you guys were talking about, gross profit and net profit off the campground, and it doesn't really generate a whole lot of money, and I asked the kind lady, what are the fees that we're charging now? They're ridiculously low. Ridiculously low. Anybody's gonna come out this way once that experience of that campground being so remote, they got no problem paying for it. And the people that don't wanna pay for it, we don't want out here anyway. Okay? That being said, we would, for what I heard, we could easily double the rates, and it wouldn't offend anybody. Anybody who wants to go out there and camp, it wouldn't offend them at all. It would be almost, comparable to what you pay at Illigy, for God's sakes. All right? Then you could afford to hire a full-time camp host through the summer. It would keep the riffraff out. It would keep the fire danger down. It would eliminate the problems that we're all discussing.
Great idea.
What are the camping rates right now?
He said it was like full-time hookups were, what, $17?
Electrical's $18 a night, non-electrical's $15.
It's nothing.
Thank you.
Well, we have no running water
Right.
there.
So?
And, well,
It doesn't
running
matter.
water,
I
and
I go camping, and just to have a spot, I paid upwards of $30 a night
Or dry camping.
for dry camping.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
If you check a lot of the state parks,
Yeah, it's
campgrounds
ridiculous.
and
I
stuff.
mean, and that's not ridiculous, it's ridiculous that you guys aren't charging enough.
$20 for a campground, a camp, state park for camping?
Easy.
Easy.
Yeah, but like I'm saying, you're getting a bathroom, all state parks these
Okay.
days have very nice bathrooms.
So they don't come. So
That's why you can't, you know,
what's the downside here?
If they're paying $20 to $30 a night to camp and using porta potty, then they're there for not the right
They
reason.
need to go out the hill here or whatever. I
They
mean,
need to glam.
But, yeah, right,
Well,
what's the downside here?
oh, I don't know, that's, we can discuss that, that's on the list. There is.
You're not the only person I've heard that
That's,
from.
And also, it needs to be, the way that you take the money for the deal is all screwed up. And in today's world, it needs to be done online before you get there. You know, PayPal account right to the Port of Dewatto or whatever. It needs to be done before you get there, not, you know, pay as you go. No, it doesn't work like that anymore. Any campground you go to, you gotta sign up months in advance and it's gotta be paid for months in advance.
Well, not every campground.
Most of them, most of them,
Well, okay. There's a lot of them that still operate on the honor system.
most of them.
And the community probably would do that
Right,
on the honest
exactly. Especially being so remote. I mean, it's so easy to screw somebody over, if you know.
But if you have a
A full-time camp host would certainly help you check in with the camp host when you get there, like you do at any other campground, you know.
we had advertised, I believe, last summer for if people were interested. We didn't offer much of a salary and they never called back once they found out that there wasn't any running water.
Good.
But, yeah, no, we're talking about camp hosts. We were
Right.
talking about camp hosts, not campers.
I thought the camp host, the free digs was
Yeah, pretty much,
most of
right?
the salary anyway.
Well, yes, in any case, it's something to work on.
The other concern was somebody thought that you'd have to make sure that they didn't decide to homestead there and build a fence around their, whatever they're staying in at the camp, and that was one of the concerns 2 years ago.
And we should have maybe term limits or something similar.
Right.
Well, it's gonna be difficult to get a camp host without power and sewage
There's power.
and, okay.
There's no sewage, there's no,
They can come up here and go to the bathroom if we're open.
Well, being a camper myself, that was my first.
Well, you know, and a lot of times, how often is the porta potty cleaned out?
Twice a week during the midsummer.
Yeah, I mean,
Once a week during the spring because we're not full and,
yeah, we've camped long-term out places, and when they come to clean the porta potty, you say, hey, can you, empty my tank into yours? For a few bucks, they're more than willing to.
Okay, that's the point. We have up to 6 Santa cans there during the middle of the season. That's the point.
Not charging enough, that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
And get the
Hasn't
the
been
payment
raised for a
arrangement straightened
while.
out too.
Yeah,
and do what?
Get the payment arrangement straightened out,
yeah,
Or
that's been talked
prepaid.
about too.
prepaid.
We should be worked on.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's getting closer now. I think, what would Wi-Fi cost down there?
I'd have to call inland, but I know that it's set up for, Wi-Fi down there, or is it phone? One of them is set up, it's just not turned on.
So would you have to pay
I would
inland, do you think, for both a phone hookup and internet hookup?
But then you can just charge a camper a couple dollars more a day.
If you want just internet, it costs you more if you don't have a phone for inland.
Yeah, because their internet is based off of DSL, it's not, it's not a.
So yeah, if you want, that was my thing, I wanted internet, but I have a cell phone, but it was like way cheaper to get the phone and then get internet also, than to just get the internet.
Someone has mentioned that it's an emergency issue, that if there's no way to get any connection to anybody, if there's an actual emergency, but it's a primitive campground, you know that going in, so Suzanne?
Yeah, so I just wanted to, before we leave, try to understand where we are now. Are we gonna have another meeting for the comprehensive plan? What's the plan here?
At this point, our regular meeting is Wednesday, and when there would be a quorum of commissioners, then we'd be able to figure that out.
Okay.
Or it's great for the retired folk. Saturdays,
Yeah.
you know?
That is an issue unless there's some way that we can provide input
it is.
electronically or.
Well, anybody who's
I mean,
speaking here today is providing input.
The comprehensive plan, so this input will be taken and given to the other commissioners as well?
Only if they choose to watch it.
Well, I know there's some notes being taken too.
Oh, certainly, if they
Yeah.
choose to read it.
Is it optional
I'm not entirely sure. I mean, if the commissioners miss so many meetings unexcused in a row, then they could be
I
replaced.
would think it's incumbent on them to attend a meeting if they're the commissioner, I don't know.
Right. Can we start impeachment?
They can't decide. I don't know.
Was that you, Wes?
David, I would think, to be reassured, that some of us may feel that you could probably, as a commissioner, contact them and pass along. I mean, isn't it?
We'll have a meeting Wednesday, the regular meeting, and then we will be discussing, I guess, a comprehensive plan in the future. And so all these different points, raising fee, all these things can be brought up at some point if one of the commissioners was really highly excited about doing this, getting a comprehensive plan, new one, because the old one didn't reflect its values, so I was told. And so all these things, I would guess, would be something that, I don't know what the format's gonna be, but at the very least, it's just people giving their opinions, and then if people, commissioners choose to do something with the port based on those ideas, that's one thing.
I think is the Wednesday meeting, historically, did the other commissioners attend that regularly?
No.
No.
Well,
No, we
they
do.
have been lately.
We do.
Okay.
Mostly have pretty good attendance.
Dave?
Once a month, Wednesday, third Wednesday of the month, 6 o'clock.
So we can see all three commissioners, generally speaking, on a Wednesday meeting,
Exactly,
because they've come in the past.
exactly.
Is that at 6 o'clock?
I think it's important, Dave, that when you're talking about your meeting this coming Wednesday,
Mhm.
it's not to be addressing the comprehensive plan, it's to schedule a new meeting for a comprehensive plan.
Yes.
Right.
So that's gonna be key, because if you have an advertised comprehensive plan on your agenda, I would cry foul on that. So if you do on Wednesday decide to pick another date into the future, that it will be advertised, it will be in meeting minutes, so those of us that track reading the meeting minutes will know. Because I don't want to think that once the three of you are up there discussing this, that you will vote on a plan like they did 20 years ago, and we, the public, don't get to participate or watch the discussion.
Has to be on a weekend.
So I think that's key, when you talk on Wednesday, schedule another meeting for another Saturday at some point in the future.
You'd like to see another meeting?
Yes.
Oh, we need one on the
Yes.
comprehensive
And
plan.
David, I loved your idea of sending out the contacts to us with the letters. I think emails are probably effective for those of us that use email also. But definitely, can you clear with the commissioners in advance on the date, get a sworn in blood commitment from them that they'll be there at the next time we have a meeting?
Well, emergencies happen.
Emergencies, life happens, I get it, but yeah.
I'm gonna have the cow jump over the moon with that idea.
There's also a survey at the end of this. If you pick up that survey and write down what you want, like, we want another meeting and we wanna make sure the commissioners are there and this is who, you don't have to put your name. doesn't, you know, it'd be nice, but you don't.
There's no point in asking.
So that this meeting here today didn't just be a bunch of people talking, I mean, it really is important to us what you have for an input.
Is this what you're referring to?
If it says survey on the top, I don't know, I printed so many out.
No, it doesn't say survey.
That's your questionnaire just coming in, but anyway. Or just write down your email over there on the sign-in box, so I make sure I can contact you.
Not finding the survey.
That's okay, it's probably over there. Or they're probably all out, they're probably gone, so.
Well,
Send me an
thank
email.
everybody for showing up, and
Yes.
sorry how,
It was a great meeting. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for coming. And I'd like to thank Mr. Allen, Diedrich Allen from Mason Web TV for taking this, and this will go onto our website, on the Port of Water website.
I know you, you spent the winter.
Well, that was fun.